Picture this. You're in front of your latest prospect, closing the biggest deal of your life. Your pitch decks were perfect. Your scripts, flawless. And when the time came to answer the golden question of, are you ready to move forward? Nothing happened. For everyone who loves sales, this is their worst nightmare. But fear not, because in this podcast, we're unraveling the enigma behind those missed opportunities. From appointments that evaporate to presentations that felt like a Broadway show but ended in awkward silence, we're dissecting it all. Welcome to Love Your Sales.
This podcast is presented by GenHead. GenHead leverages AI so small and medium-sized businesses can find their ideal clients to make more sales. Other companies talk about AI, but we are using it every day to drive down marketing costs and increase revenue. Learn more at genhead.com. That's genhead.com.
Welcome to another episode of Love Your Sales. I am joined today by Dan Hanson. He is a commercial lending officer with Kohler Credit Union with vast experience in cash flow management, merchant services, treasury management, and commercial lending. He can originate SBA loans both in 405 and 7A products, as well as in commercial and investment real estate, equipment, and vehicle financing. I am so thrilled to have Dan join me today because I'm excited to talk about the nuances specifically in the business that he's in. So welcome, Dan.
Thank you, Leighann. Great to be here, and I appreciate the conversation today.
Yeah. So you have, 5 years in your current industry, but you're no spring chicken when it comes to sales. 20 years?
Yeah, just over
21
years, going back to 2003, and I graduated with my undergrad.
Awesome. So let's dive in and let's talk about sales because, well, that's the topic I love to talk about. First, why don't you, kind of introduce yourself, anything that I missed on that short little brief introduction. Let's chat.
Yeah, you pretty much nailed it. It's the 504 product on the SBA, not 405. Yeah, minute detail, but so as a commercial lending officer, I work with businesses and investor groups, specifically in my role currently, just in the real estate transactions, mostly. I've done work with previous FIs where I have worked with businesses on their treasury management, the fraud protection mitigation side of things, as well as payments and also merchant services and, credit cards and everything. So and the reason why I think that's important is because in my current role, while I'm just focusing on lending, I'm able to talk to business owners about their overall business and what I can do to either introduce them to people in my network, such as yourself, or give my own advice on things or opinions, and mostly introductions. So it's really served me well. Again, I focus primarily right now just on lending, which is my favorite side of the business. Most of the transactions I do are real estate, and the reason why I love that is everybody understands it, right? There's an appraisal value that everybody understands. This is what we need, and this is how the cash flow supports the property. But as you mentioned in the bio, I can do equipment financing, vehicle, all that fun stuff. I can do lines of credit. I can do a BLOC on an investment in property, and then the SBA catches kind of everything else.
Very interesting. And something that we were talking about prior to jumping on here was that, hey, I'm a business owner. I need a loan. I'm just going to walk into the bank and, talk with this person. But you kind of mentioned that, that's not really how your industry works. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, I think, when people think about banking, they don't really think about sales necessarily, especially in my role. It's different on the retail side, right? If you're going to get a car loan, oftentimes if you're a member of a credit union, you're going to call them first. You've got a relationship with them, somebody at the branch, that's just kind of how it goes. On the commercial side, that's not it entirely. I don't get anybody calling into my office, asking to buy $1 million property. So it's really about forging those relationships, both with networkers and referral sources, and also just with the business owners themselves. So I have a very tall order, and I've set a lot of lofty expectations for myself about getting out and meeting new people. And I will meet anyone. I don't care, if you've got a muffler business or you're a personal trainer that goes into people's homes, you have value, and I would love to help in any way that I can. It's all about helping small business owners specifically, but you never know what that's going to lead to. So it has served me well by never saying no to a meeting, because I oftentimes will have that introduction and nothing will happen for 18 months to 2 years. But it's being there at that right moment when they are ready to purchase something and they think of you. And that's where, kind of the rubber hits the road. So, I've networked with a lot of people on your show. Ben Zhang comes to mind. He's an absolute serial networker. He's just wonderful, great referral partner. And he's out there forging new relationships and bringing me along, which is great, and vice versa. So I think the notion that, we just sit in our big offices and count beans is kind of a misnomer. In my role, we're out there, killing what we eat.
Amazing. So, the common theme of every single person practically that I've ever spoken with on, my podcast here is that networking, communication, talking with people, putting yourself out there is one of the most important aspects to being successful in sales, right? I mean, it really comes down to who you know, but your industry is niche. It's not like, it's not like I'm even considering right now going and buying a property or a vehicle or, my business. In fact, as it stands right now, I'm like, well, I'm just going to stay remote forever. No overhead. So you're really looking at the long game, the people who may not even know that one day they need you.
Yeah, and it's being on the lips of the mouths of the people that are talking to those business owners like you. You're constantly talking to business owners or sales executives. And at that moment when they say, we had a really good year and our accountant's recommending we buy a building to offset some, whatever, then you're like, oh, well, I've got a guy for that. That happens all the time. And to be honest, I think back to how you and I met. I don't know if you remember this, but I just joined the Brookfield Chamber, which, I think we were both very fond of and still are. And it was like one of the first meetings I had attended, and you were named new member of the year in your first year. And I was super impressed by that. And then just hearing how many things you attended in that first year, how many one-on-ones you had, how many relationships you built, I was like, I need to meet this woman. And so I gave you my card and I cornered you for lunch very shortly after the pandemic. Not sure if you remember. We went to Bravo at Brookfield Square. But yeah, being with like-minded people like you, understanding that, yes, it's a numbers game where you need to meet a broad, varied group of people, but having, meaningful connections with a good small group of people is so key.
Yeah. Wow. I do remember the first time that we met, but I did not hear the story as to why.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. The more people that know you, and that follows you. And because when we first met, I'm trying to think of the job that I was at that time. That was a couple of jobs ago.
Right. Yeah.
And those networks, those relationships, and I doubt that you remember the job that I was, and maybe you do, but that job has been long gone. You're not going to call the company I used to work at if you need help with something related to, you're going to call me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the beauty of building basically a sales force of people out there who literally are just referring business because they like you. I'm assuming here at this point, Dan, that you like me.
Yeah. I'm a big fan.
But it's an entire sales force of people out there who basically are saying, oh, hey, and you brought up Ben Zhang. And even when I interviewed him, he made the comment, I want to be the guy that knows the guy. That knows the guy that knows the guy. Like, that is my entire purpose I want to be that guy that knows the guy. And I want to be the person that knows the person that can help no matter what the problem is. And that's the beauty of that, of when you surround yourself with people who are all saying, yeah, I want to be that person too. Like if you need something, I have a Rolodex. But here's the part that could hurt is if all of the sudden you drop off, you disappear, somebody is very likely to be able to just slot themselves in and become that person. So how do you make sure that you continue to remain the person that knows the person and stay on top of that list of the people that
It's such a good question, Leighann. Such a good question. And it takes work. And I often liken this to relationships with friends. It's not unlike each other. So I'm a very social person, very outgoing. I thrive on being with people. That's my, I don't golf alone. I don't go to the movies alone. I don't eat alone. I have to be with people. So as a result, I've met a lot of friends, thankfully, and kept in touch with almost all of them because it takes work. And what I mean by that is whenever I think of somebody that I haven't talked to in a while, I will immediately send them a message. And, and again, I'm speaking strictly with friends, but, I'll just say, hey, how's it going? How's your mom, or how's the thing, or where have you been lately? Whatever it is. And I'll try to make plans. I'll try to, hey, let's golf, let's get lunch, let's do something. And it's the same with businesses and networking partners. When I think of them, I will drop a line, and it's just in different forms then. So oftentimes I'll send them something on LinkedIn and say, hey, I thought of you, read this, check this out. Or I'll actually do personal cards, which I love. And I typically do that 1 or 2 times a year, just do, a mass mailer of personal cards where I'll write out individual notes to people and send them, hey, thought of you, let's keep in touch. Here's my number, we haven't talked in a while, whatever it is. And with the advent of all the social media, you can reach people any number of ways and not be too invasive. So I just think it takes a little work, but I think you're right. The other side of it is, and what served me so well, is so I still am a member of 5 chambers. And I've done the BNI, I've done, different, I've done Rotary, I've done all the things, right? All the networking things. And I've taken what I liked and emulated those things and formed a group of my own. And so right now we're 11 people. We meet once a month, the first Tuesday of every month. We met yesterday, and your name came up. Actually, outside of this podcast, somebody in my group said, hey, I'm talking with Leighann, what do you guys know about her? And I was the first to say, she's delightful. I'm going to be on her podcast tomorrow. And then another of the group members said really glowing things about you that I'll say off camera, so the name's not out there. But anyway, we took the things that we liked, and I brought Ben and Nate Fair with me, and we started with 3 simple rules. We have to like you as a person. That's the first one. I want to hang out with you socially first. No matter what, when you join the chamber, there's we used to get 75 people at breakfast in Brookfield, and no matter how amazing the chamber is, oftentimes there's like one person you're just like not jiving with. You're like, I'm never going to refer to that person. So we had to start there. And then the second thing is you have to be open to both give and receive referrals. I brought somebody into the organization early on, and then they were like, okay, I don't have any capacity to take any new clients. And I said, okay, I'm sorry, you got to leave. We need to be able to send you stuff. It was very,
you gotta leave.
I took them to lunch, and it was a nice breakup, but I'm paraphrasing for time's sake, but we're all in the network to give people business. And then the last thing is we had to primarily work with business owners. And for the most part, all 11 of us almost work exclusively with business owners. So those 3 things have served us really well. And also bringing people in first. We back into the person, not the industry. Okay, so I love this person. What they do, does that work with us? And that has also served well to invite people in. And so that's the work, right? And surrounding yourself with the people that want to be, like you said, those mass networkers. And it's been amazing.
That's awesome. And I like how you kind of broke that down, that analysis of like, it doesn't make sense to have somebody there. And I guess the other thing is, why are you there if you can't take on more business? Like, that's the time where you should have your head down, focusing on what you can do or focusing on executing on the business that you have and figuring out how you can take on more business. As a business owner, that's what I'm going to be doing. Like if I'm at capacity, I need to figure out how I can scale to, unless, and again, let me back up. If you're happy
Mhm.
at that capacity, you have no desire to scale, then why are you out there? But if you do want to scale to be bigger, then you should be figuring out how to do that before you're back out there networking. Because then I feel like I shouldn't say it's a waste of time. I was about to say it's a waste of time. It's never a waste of time to create relationships. It's never
Mhm.
a waste of time to continue to nurture that network and stay in front of people. But if the sole goal of a group that you're part of is to take on new business and pass new business, yeah, you're right. It's not beneficial to the people in that other group. So I commend you for making sure, hey, these are the boxes that everybody needs to check to be here. Let's make sure that we're staying on point.
Yeah, and we had a really good conversation, and it was basically made aware that the group was so good he just didn't want to say no. It was um it's been amazing, honestly. I can't tell you enough. Like it's been one of the things that buoys me because my industry is subject to a lot of different economic factors, and there's ups and downs, and real estate bubbles and all of that. So being with a group of like-minded individuals that have your back has been the best part of my working career. And so it's, we've got a mission statement, we've got officers, we track absences. We've done guest speaking events. So, we brought in Derek Depre. I think I introduced you to him a while ago. And he did a free seminar for, business owners. We ended up bringing 50 business owners in. I catered lunch, they all got swag and they got a free 1 hour seminar. It was amazing. We've done charity events. We're actually going to do a guest bartending event for the Wisconsin division of OPRA, which is the Ovarian Cancer Research Alliance. So part of our mission statement is that we're dedicated to steward the business owners in the communities in which we live and work. And all of that comes back to giving back, right? So I've got a tattoo on my arm in Irish that says, to those much is given, much is expected. I feel like I've been given a tremendous amount in my life. Started with, I think, the great foundations that allowed me to be successful. And so I want to give back, and here's the time to do it. And now I have the means and the energy. And so all of us are very good about giving of our time, especially amongst the group members in our various fields of expertise, both to each other and their clients.
I am a huge believer that what you put out into the world, what you give to the world comes back to you. And I see it in those who are so generous, in the people who are so unbelievably generous. So, I mean, the kind of people who you look at and you talk with and you're like, wow, this person would literally give me the shirt off their back if I needed it, are the ones who rise to the top. It's not something you can teach. It's something that is just in them. And they really truly are the ones who, and I'm not talking about rising to the top and they're millionaires but they're the people in the community that their names are the ones who are being thrown around constantly. The Ben Zangs of the world, who, if I called him today and said, hey, I need this, he'd be like, yeah, I can. And it's not like he's my best friend in the world. He is truly a business associate that I have met who has become a friend. And it's the people like you who are giving your time, your energy, because you're capable of doing that. And the success follows. And it's amazing to see and watch that. And then you see those who are just getting by, that you can tell just a little bit that their intent is much more selfish. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. In sales, we have to be a little selfish. Our intent is to sell, make the company money. That's the goal. But as salespeople, we need to remember that our product is not for everybody. And that selling selling somebody on something that may not be perfect for them, in my opinion, is not ethical. I don't think it's moral. And that if we as salespeople are willing to explain that to somebody, like, hey, this product is probably not right for you, as much as it hurts the first time. And it did. The first time I had to go, oh my gosh, my product is not right. And they are ready to say yes.
Mm.
But like, this isn't right. They're not going to be happy. They're going to leave. It was so liberating. And it felt good at the end of the day. I mean, not for my pocketbook, but it felt good at the end of the day to know that I did the right thing. And guess what? Another sale came along that was right. And I was thoroughly happy, thoroughly thrilled that the match was made.
Yeah, oftentimes the best thing you do is just open another door for somebody, right? What I say to people is it's not a no, it's just a not me. I can't do this for you, but here are two other people that I want to introduce you to that might be able to help. I don't want to ever overpromise, but the commercial lending world on the underwriting side is pretty foreign to most people, I would say. If you go out and buy a house, right, they're going to look at your DTI, they're going to look at your credit score, they're going to spit out a rate, and there you go, you're kind of pre-qualified. It's so much different on the commercial side. We put together 50, 60 page, what we call LPs or presentations, basically, for each credit that we look at. And we get in my specific shop, we're credit experts. We dive in and we understand everything about the industry first. All right, this is, let's just say it's a manufacturing business in Waukesha County, right? We're going to do all the research on those specific things in the county and the industry itself and what the trends are. Obviously, we understand everything about the borrower, and then we just kind of, work into the numbers just to see if it makes sense. Because ultimately, what our concerns are as a lender should be the concerns of the borrower, right? Just because you're putting your money on the line, so are we, and we're slapping a lien on your property. So we want to make sure that it's a good investment for both of us. And that's the hardest thing for people to understand, is they just have it in their minds that they want to buy this building, at any cost seemingly, and I'll make it work, and I got this asset, and this will be good for me. And what I have to tell them, and this is similar to what you were saying, when you have to say no to somebody, is you say, this is why, right? Give them the why behind the what. For these 4 reasons, it doesn't make sense for you or I to enter into this transaction.
And absolutely. And that builds your know, like, and trust. The trust factor in that right there is that all of the sudden you've just made them trust you that much more. And even though you aren't going to be doing business with them right now, you've just become a trusted ally in their network. And when somebody comes to them and they say, well, where did you get this loan done? They're very much more likely to say, well, I originally went to Dan Hanson and we couldn't do business together, but here's this gentleman. I got mine from XYZ, but the reason I, went to them is because I had this situation, blah, blah, blah. You now become a trusted ally, despite the fact that you're not even doing business with them.
Yeah.
That's powerful. That is really, really powerful.
Yeah. I firmly believe, like what you said, what you put out, if you do the right thing first, like you said, the money will follow. Ultimately, for me, it's also about just sleeping well at night. I have 2 young kids, a wife that I adore. My life is really good. And I know that if I do the right things during the day, that they'll be proud of me no matter what. I have to say, because I think this is so important, this is, I'm sure, geared towards sales executives and salespeople, kind of in the bullpen alike. I have the best boss in the world. He is, not only is he a credit wizard, so I can bring him the most complicated deals and he can see through it. He understands what it's like to be a human and understands what it's like to be in my role and doing what I'm doing. And he affords me the luxury of autonomy, which is great. Because, I said to them, if I don't make my numbers, feel free to come down on me as hard as you want, but I'm going to hit that number. Last year I hit my goal by June 1st. This year I hit my yearly goal by August 1st. Last year I hit the team goal by myself by October 1st. And then they raised my goal 50% and I still hit it by August 1st. I want to win. And I do think sales is a competition, right? And it's a game and we got to win. But I can't reach as far as I can if I didn't have the amazing boss that I do. And I think that goes true for teachers, for mentors, and for parents. I was able to reach as far as I can because of my parents. They set me up for success in so many different ways, not the least of which is education. You know, I got my MBA back in 2015 when I kind of pivoted and changed careers, you know, and I was able to do that because I already had my undergrad that they helped me with, and obviously student loans and all that fun stuff. But it's just so key that I think, you know, for salespeople, young salespeople especially, you know, listening to the podcast, just find the manager that allows you to be who you are, but also coaches you and teaches you in the right way.
And that's, and I just want to make a comment to what you just said, that coaches you and mentors you in the right way, which has been a rarity in so many situations, that there are managers out there, sales managers out there who have never been salespeople.
Mm.
And here's the strange thing, is that if you have a great sales person and then you put them in a management role, often they struggle because they are true through and through sales people. But if you have somebody who understands sales, and let me tell you, my father was a mediocre sales guy, but he was a amazing sales manager. Just like that is when he rose up, and because he understood how to sell, but he was a strategic thinker and liked to put all the pieces together and support people versus going out and selling himself. And it's a hard thing to do when you're young, moving into a sales position. Ask questions. It is okay to ask. And if you're asking questions and getting pushback, you're in the wrong place.
Mm-hmm.
If you're asking questions and you're getting a leader who is engaged with you and coaching you and teaching you, you're in the right spot.
Mm-hmm.
And matrix, yes, they exist. They exist so that we are able to gamify it, make it about beating yourself, not the company, not, if you make it about winning against yourself, it is way more fun, because we have to figure out how to track a salesperson. And everybody's like, oh, I have these matrix that my company's holding me. I have to make so many phone calls. You know what? Yeah. In the beginning, that's what it's going to be about. But once you start hitting every one of your goals, your manager is going to stop looking at those. They're not going to care. They're going to go, okay, wow. You're meeting all your they will stop looking at those numbers, and they're literally going to go, okay, you know what? You can do whatever you want. I'm here to support you in any way I can. And that manager will start just removing roadblocks. If they're a good manager, that's what they'll do. They'll sit back and go, Dan, you go and do your job. You call me if there's something that's in your way. If you have a problem, you call me and I will make sure to remove that obstacle for you if they have the power to do it. There are certain industries where there's roadblocks and there's red tape for reasons to regulate and blah, blah, blah. But the greatest sales managers sit back and wait for their salespeople. Well, not all the time. They check in too, but for their salespeople to call them and go, hey, boss man, I got an issue. And that's when that manager goes, let me figure out how to fix it for you quick and now, so that your job is as easy as it possibly can be to sell and make money for the company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You said something that I say all the time, and I've seen it so often, that the best salespeople are automatically promoted to sales leaders or managers. And that is so deserving. Oftentimes it's expected, you earn this, and that's what we should do. But the best salespeople oftentimes can't teach what they do.
Correct.
And then one of the things I really wanted to talk about is, for young people maybe tuning in, getting into sales and why. For me, it was, I love talking to people and I love meeting new people and making relationships. That's really what, kind of turns my butter. I also realized early on, I didn't have any hard skills coming out of undergrad. I wasn't an engineer. I wasn't an architect. I wasn't an accountant getting my CPA. I call those kind of hard skills. Those are things you go specifically to school for. I had people skills, which is, again, something you can't teach. So I knew that very early on, if it was something I was passionate about and the coaching and the training was adequate, if not excellent, that I could be successful because I have my own internal barometer. Nobody's going to be harder on me than me, right? I'm going to, if they tell me to make 10 phone calls, I'm making 20, all the things, right? That's an internal engine that, again, just you have or you don't. So I think, for people coming out of school, not knowing what to do, if you've got people skills, if you're not afraid to meet people, to make phone calls, if you're not afraid to learn, especially, it is such a great career and it can spring you into so many different directions, right? I've run businesses before, I've been in charge of P&Ls, north of $3 million in revenue. Like I said, I got my MBA back in 2015. So I understood finance, and so I think banking was an easy transition for me, but I started in sales, and I've, in straight sales, product sales, whatever, service sales. So for me, it's about also knowing that you can reinvent yourself, so many times. Usually every year I go and speak at a middle school and I say that exact same thing. I think one of the worst things we do is ask kids, when they're 17 years old to try to pick what they want to do the rest of their life, right? Just, try it. There is a book called Ready, Aim, Fire, or Ready, Fire, Aim, excuse me, where, have a bias for action and try things and then figure out what you liked, what you didn't like, and then kind of refocus and recalibrate. And I think that's so key for young people and especially young salespeople. You can reinvent yourself so many times.
Absolutely. What I wanted to be when I was 17 versus what I am today. I mean, I wanted to be a police officer.
I could see that.
I mean, very not at all, like not even close to what I was originally planning. And then I was going to be a computer programmer. Then I was going to be an accountant. No, it was an accountant, then a computer programmer. Then I went to school for business emphasis in human resource management. And now I run a sales company. Like, how many careers can one person have in their lifetime? And in the reality of it, that's not really abnormal.
No, I think it's the norm.
It is the norm at this point. I mean, I'm a highly educated woman that just didn't have a straight path to where I'm at, but I do not regret a moment of the path I took because it's brought me to where I am. And every moment of my path, I learned something. Simple as that.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad I'm not a police officer.
I think we all are.
Yeah.
I don't know. I certainly know I didn't sit back when I was 17 and think, well, I want to be a commercial banker someday. That was not the sexy dream I had. I'll tell you this. I've never been happier in my professional life than I am right now. And that's been for the last few years. Number one, the job that I do in helping business owners. Number two, my boss, who's incredible, as I mentioned. And number three, working for an organization that I do that, really means what they say. I've worked for big, financial institutions. And the message is lost. But, being with a smaller institution that I am with today, it is a stark contrast and it's such a fresh, amazing outlook. And I couldn't be happier. And I think that shows when I'm working with clients, right?
Yeah.
When I'm more than happy to engage with them and bring them in and understand that they're going to get the service that I think is what they should get. So anyway, super happy.
Well, this leads into us wrapping up where you get your 30-second shameless pitch. So please.
Yeah, geez, I should like to talk about myself more given my, profession. Ultimately, I just want to be what Ben said, the guy that knows the guy, but with respect to what I do on a daily basis, know that I'm going to get in and understand everything about your credit request so that I'm the best advocate that I can be for you. Not only am I going to, work on the actual request itself, I'm going to try to understand your industry, what your pain points are, what's the trends, what's the future outlook. I have, countless tools at my disposal that I can, kind of look at to understand where the industry is headed. And primarily real estate is the easiest thing that people can understand. And so I love working on real estate transactions. I work with a lot of investor groups that, have multiple projects that we work on together because ultimately I'm not transactional, right? I do want to have repeat customers and work on different things. And for instance, tonight I'm going out with two clients. They invited my wife and I out to dinner. We just closed on a property a couple months ago, and they're bringing their wives, and we're all getting together, right? They become friends. So I hate to say that I'm a generalist, but as my bio pointed out, I can do everything. If you're a business owner and you want to buy, a giant piece of equipment for your manufacturer, I can do that. I can get you, vehicle. I can do HELOCs or BLOCs, excuse me, and lines of credit. The real estate, obviously, and the SBA side allows me to work with acquisitions. I've done franchise acquisitions. What's unique about the 504 and 78 together is that it allows you to do a real estate transaction with what we call blue sky, or kind of that uncollateralized business startup cost. So it's been amazing. I'm super happy what I do. I have a huge engine and passion for learning. I have a personal motto, that I will always stand by, is that I'm constantly learning to just broaden my reach and what I can understand. So ultimately, I just want to be the best partner I can be.
If somebody wanted to reach out to you, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, so my email is pretty easy. It's dhanson@kohlercu.com, which is the letter D. Hanson is HANSON at Kohler, KOHLER, the letter C, the letter U.com. I do also give out my personal cell, which some people might think is strange, but it's the best way to get a hold of me. Text and email and calls are fine. It's 414-526-3565.
Amazing. And those will be in the show notes. And Dan, I really appreciate you coming on today. This has been an awesome conversation.
Yeah, it shouldn't have taken this long, because I'm a huge fan of yours, and we go back years, and really a big fan of what you guys are doing. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us for Love Your Sales. For more, connect with Leighann on LinkedIn, and be sure to subscribe to the show and leave us a rating and review. We'd love to hear what you think. Looking for a way to take your sales process to the next level? Visit us at loveyoursales.com to find out more about how Leighann can take your organization to new revenue heights. And be sure to join us next time for more great ways to love your customers so they love your sales.